Hi Stampers, this is Kim with Great Inspirations. I'm glad you're here with me today. And here we are at the end of August. I can't believe how fast this year is going. But this month I've been creating cards with some just quick and easy fun folds just to kind of get me through the August heat of summer. But as it turns out here, our end of August weather has been beautiful. It almost feels like spring. We've had high in the 70s. There's been a nice breeze, plenty of sunshine. I am loving that. So, of course, I want to be outside in that nice weather. So quick and easy fun folds are the way to go for me right about now. Today, I thought we'd talk about easel cards. Now, many of you have probably made easel cards, and there's many variations. But I thought I would just show you a few basic ones today that can go together quite quickly. Now, for me, the first easel card I learned to make had a full front panel on it. And then when you open it, it looked something like this. It would sit up and you could see the image and you could see the sentiment, and then you could open it all the way and there would be space here for someone to write a message or a name. So this is the first kind of easel card I learned to make. Then I discovered, oh look, you don't need to put this full panel on here. You can just fold your card front in half and make like a half panel. And then here, then there you go. There's that card. So no other piece of cardstock needed, just the card base. So I liked that. But then I needed a card one day and I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I decided, why don't I make a square easel card? And it does have a full panel on the front. It's just like the others. I've just folded the front of the card base in half, and there we go. And as the other ones, there's space here to write, and if that wasn't enough space, you could always write on the back or put a panel back here to write on. So these are so easy, and it all has to do with the scoring. So whoops, before we go on with that, yes, I did make a Christmas version. Here it is. I chose to make the half panel where I just used the card base. And instead of cutting some strips for a stopper, some little strips of cardstock, I used some embellishments, some little foam star embellishments, and they worked just perfectly to keep that card in place. So there are my 3 types of easel cards, 4 cards, but 3 types. And let's just talk about the scoring. We'll start with this one, which I call a half panel easel card, because you only see half of the front panel when it's sitting up. But really all it is, it's just the card base, and then you can add to it. So what we're going to need for that, of course, is a scoreboard. So I'm bringing in this handy dandy one, and then a piece of cardstock. Now, for these easel cards, your cardstock is 11 by 4 1/4. And so we're going to do some scoring. And we're going to score at 5 1/2, just like we would for a normal card. So here we have the back side of our card, and here's the card front. And I'm going to score on this 5 1/2 line one more time. There we go. So we have this 5 1/2 inch piece of cardstock to work with, that what we need to do is to score it in half. So half of 5 1/2 is 2 3/4. So we're going to go to the 2 3/4 and score. That's how you decide where you need this middle score line. Whatever half of your front card panel is, that's where you score. So for a card that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, you would score at 2 3/4. You would score your 11 inch by 4 1/4 inch piece of cardstock at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. So we're going to just fold on our score lines. And I'll grab a bone folder. You do want to go over them. And then we would fold on this score line, and both of these folds are mountain. See how that's a mountain fold? No, this one will be a mountain fold. But if you didn't want to score, you don't have to. Just turn your cardstock down, fold inward and upward, and just fold it in half. Just fold it up to the mid-score line. So if you wanted to just score that mid-score line and fold this in half, that works too. And then what we have right here now is our easel card. And like I say, I call it a half panel easel. And of course you would have to make a stopper, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But that is how I made this card. And now it doesn't want to cooperate. There we go. And what I used on this card for a stopper was cardstock. These strips of cardstock are 1/8 of an inch by 4 1/4, because you want it to go across your whole space there. Now I know a lot of people don't like to cut 1/8 of an inch. That's okay. You could cut 1/4 of an inch. You can use ribbon for this. You can use, like I did on the Christmas card, little embellishments. Whatever you like, you can use for your stopper. But this is that half panel easel card. And that's what we just made here, the card base for it. Quick and easy and very, very simple. Now we'll move along. We'll put this right up here. And now we'll move along to the next one that I made. And that is what I called this full panel. Keep wanting to say Z-fold card. Full panel easel card. That's very easy. You just need another piece of cardstock. So you're going to need the card base that is 11 inches by 4 1/4. And then you're going to need some cardstock that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And if you want, you can cut an inside panel for the card with white or light colored cardstock. And you would cut that like you would for a first layer, the 5 1/4 by 4. So we're going to score this for our full panel. I'm going to say Z-fold for our full panel easel card. And the scoring is the same. So we would go at 2 3/4 and then 5 1/2. Get it folded, get those corners matched up. Bring in the bone folder. Fold this one. Remembering they're both mountain folds. And there we have our base, and it's an easel card just like that half of a panel easel card we made earlier. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this panel and we are going to decorate it like I have decorated this one. And then we're going to adhere it right to the card. But we only need to put adhesive on this lower half, or what you can do, and I think it's the easiest, is I just take my card base, take some adhesive, and I just put it on this lower part. And then I simply line up my card. Get those corners matched up. And there we go. We have our easel card. And that's the full panel easel. We would put our stopper. We would stamp a message here if we like. We would have room up here to write a note, sign our name, and we would have a card that looks something like this. So we'll move this one right over here for now. That's our full panel card. We'll put that away. And now, oh here, I'm going to open up, this is the Christmas one. That's at half a panel. Put him over there. And here is my little mini easel card, my little mini square easel card. And it's just like the others, like I showed you. Sits right up. Looks real cute. Easy to make. But our card base is a little bit different. We'll need a card base that is 8 1/2 inches by 4 1/4. And then we'll need a panel that, or a layer, a mat that is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. And if on the inside of this card you would want a panel, you would make it 4 inches by 4 inches. But here we go with this one. We're going to score it. And since it's a square, we're going to score it at 4 1/4. Now, we'll do what we did with our first 11 by 4 1/4 inch piece of cardstock. We scored it in the center, and like I said, at this, it's 4 1/4. So now to get our center fold on the front, we need half of 4 1/4, and that is 2 1/8. Oops, didn't want to score. There we go. 2 1/8. And like I said, if you don't like to do the math, just get your card, fold it in half, and then fold the bottom front of your card towards the center, just like that. And there you have a square easel card, and you could stop right there. You could decorate this similar to what I did here. I die cut a circle and put an image on it. It could be a square. If you have a die cut that cuts out mountains or trees, you could use that. Just, there is no end to the possibilities. But since I want to make this a full panel, then I am going to do what we did for that last card. I'm going to put adhesive right here. And then I'm just going to line my card up, or my card front, this panel I made. And there we go. And we have a card base that I used to make this version of my easel cards. So it's just that quick and just that easy to make these easel cards. And there are many other ways, many other ways that you could do it. You could make all manner of square cards. You could make a 5 inch by 5 inch square card. If you wanted something small, make it 3 1/2 by 3 1/2 and make it an easel card. You just have to remember your card base, fold it in half, and then fold the front in half towards the center. Now here I have a piece of cardstock that is 8 1/2 by 5 1/2. I have scored it at 4 1/4, just like we would for any card. But then I scored the center in half at 2 1/8. And now we have this lovely landscape easel card. And like I was talking about just a little bit ago, if you had like die cut mountains or a forest or something, this would be a great base for it, and it would be really a cool card to send to, you know, all those men that we all have trouble making cards for. The only thing we have to watch is on all of these cards, You don't want whatever you put along here, it can't be any higher. When you fold the card, it can't be any higher than the top of the card base. That way it will still fit in an A2 size envelope. Because all these cards that I showed you today do fit inside an A2 sized envelope. Now, as far as the stopper goes, I told you for many of these, at least for this one, is that the only one? Yeah, this one. No, this one. These two. For these two, for the stoppers, I used cardstock. I just cut 3 strips of cardstock, and mine are 1/8 by 4 1/4. But you can make them 1/4 inch as well. And I just adhered them one on top of the other. And that you could, sometimes you can get away with 2. It just depends on what cardstock you use. 3 will definitely be enough. And then I just adhered them together and then put them down on the card and made for a great stopper. Now, as far as placement for the stopper, you just have to see where you like the card to be. I mean, this one could have been back farther, but I liked it kind of like that. Same for all of them. You just kind of, that's something you just kind of figure out on your own. And you'll figure it out. It won't take long at all, and you'll know right where to put those. Now, another thing you could use, I could have used this die cut. This die cut would have been enough for a stopper. I chose not to. Had I used it as a stopper, I would have, this background piece, I would have cut out another 1 or 2 of them and adhered under it to make it just a tiny bit taller. But then, let's see. So there's those 2 with the cardstock. Let's put some of these things away. And like I said, for my Christmas one, I used embellishments. These are foam, so they lie down, they will just smush right down, and they lay down fairly flat. And these little embellishments I use here, they're fairly flat. They would have probably been okay to use for a stopper. And then for this one, I just used a piece of ribbon. And the ribbon is usually tall enough that it makes a good stopper. So there you have it. There are my easel cards. And that's what I have for you today. Now, all of the measurements and instructions for how I put these together, all that will be listed on my corresponding blog post. And the link to that blog post is in the description of this video. Now, I want to take just a minute to make an announcement. Starting next week on Thursday, it might come out on Wednesday, but definitely by Thursday, I'm going to start my Stamp Happy Holidays series for 2025. I've done a version of this for some years now. Last year was the first year I did it without being a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I used a lot of just various products from all over. And this year, I will be using products from all over, but I'm going to do it just a little different. All this year, every video I've brought you, I've made a Christmas card using whatever technique or card layout or fun fold that I presented that week. And part of that was because I wanted to get, by the time fall rolled around, I wanted to have my Christmas cards finished. And they pretty much are. But another purpose was I wanted you to see that whatever whatever the layout is, or the fun fold, or, maybe whatever it may be, the technique, anything, that technique can be used for any kind of card, be it birthday, holiday, it doesn't matter. You can use those things to make cards for all occasions. So with the Stamp Happy Holidays, each week, at least from now till sometime in mid-October, I'll show you versions of the cards or the projects. It's not going to be all cards. that would be appropriate for fall, Thanksgiving, Halloween, Christmas, you name it. We're going to have various samples of the same project, but made for the different holidays that we'll be celebrating over the next few months. Just to give you an idea of what that project looks like when it's made for different holidays or with different color schemes. And we'll see how that goes. So I hope you will join me for the Stamp Happy Holiday Series 2025. Like I said, that will start next week. But until then, I hope you will give these easel cards a try. Until next time, stamp happy.